Hi, glad to see you on my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It's important to me. Have a good view. Restore the position. On April 23, 1944, the front commander, in order number 00324, formulated the task for the strike group of the front's armies. The 40th, 27th, and 7th Guards armies were to attack, with the latter two armies to ensure the entry of the 5th Guards Army and the 2nd Tank Army into the breakthrough. General armies after the breakthrough of the enemy front were to advance along the left bank of the Seret River in the general direction of Sagna, Benesti. The task for the tank armies was more daring, to take possession of the towns of Bakou and Vaslui to cut off the escape routes of the Iasi-Kishinev grouping to the west. Interestingly, on the same day, Konev issued another order, number 044, on the combat use of tank and mechanized troops of the front. The content of the order on the identified major shortcomings in the organization of control and combat was ordered to bring up to and including the commander of the vehicle. On several pages of typewritten text, the front commander razzed tankers and general troopers for poor reconnaissance, hasty throwing of tank units into battle without proper preparation, inability to consolidate captured lines, to interact with artillery and engineering troops, low initiative, poor management, poorly organized evacuation and repair, as well as bushy organized provision of tanks with fuel and ammunition. The order had a lot of right words, but there was not much time left to somehow correct these shortcomings. On April 25th, the tanks and infantry of the enemy, who went on the offensive from the areas of Helestieni, Targu Frumos, somewhat squeezed the units of the 7th Guards. This is how it looked from the level of the front headquarters, but for those who had to be on the edge of the German attack, everything was different. In the offensive took part 1st Romanian PD, 24th TD and TD, so in Soviet documents, in fact at that time MD, Großdeutschland. In addition to the infantry units, the 29th TK from the 5th GVTA came under attack. At the same time, as the tankers reported, the infantry of the 8th SD, which had no anti-tank guns in the front line, retreated. The RS regiment also withdrew to the rear, and the tankers of the 31st TBR were left alone. The battle for the village of Dumbrowitza lasted 2.5 hours, until the last tank of the brigade commander was hit. Total losses amounted to 14 T-34s and 3 Su-85s. One of the reports stated that the brigade had 2 T-34s left in the brigade, the ones that went down under the Stay Corps. But another said that after the battle, the brigade had 12 scouts and 15 machine gunners left. At the same time, the enemy was declared to have destroyed 14 medium and heavy tanks, including 9 Tigers, 12 APCs, 2 SAU, and over 360 soldiers and officers. Other units of the 29th TK suffered less. The 32nd TBR lost 1 T-34-76 and 3 T-34-85. The 108th IPTAP lost 3 76mm guns. Rotmistrov's army headquarters reacted to the German blow by urgently transferring the 14th GV TTP to the 29th TK. As of the evening of April 25th, it had 18 IS-2s, and 3 more were due to arrive. The Soviet counterstroke began in the morning of April 26th. At the same time, according to the testimony of prisoners and the actions of the enemy during the day, it became known that, on the other side, themselves were preparing to go on the offensive at 7 Noir. But the units prepared for the offensive themselves fell under the artillery preparation of Konev's armies, which began at 5:45. From the tank armies on this day in the battle took part the same 29th TK on the site of the 7th GVA, which reflected new counterattacks of enemy tanks and infantry at 17:01 went on the offensive. The tankers themselves assessed their contribution somewhat differently. In their opinion, the 29th TK, with the forces of the 32nd TBR and the 14th TTP, together with the infantry of the 81st Govdar SD, performed the task of restoring the former position. This is quite consistent with the information of the 81st Govan SD, whose training battalion had earlier delayed the retreating dispersed groups of the 8th Govan VDD and returned them to the fighting order. The 29th TK tried to restore the situation and repulse Dumbrowitza on April 27th. The main role in the attack was to be played by the 32nd TBR, with the support of a company of heavy IS-2s from the 14th TDP. Alas, even the thick frontal armor of the ISs was not an absolute protection. By the evening, one of the new Stalins was listed as burned in neutral, and 4 more were damaged. On 30 checkers of the 32nd TBR, the initial report reported 2 burned T-34-76 and 3 hit T-34-85s. But later reports specified that 9 tanks, which broke through at 5 en route to the village center, were hit and burned by 14 were. As captured prisoners later reported, rumors began to spread in late April that Soviet troops would soon undertake a major offensive. According to some reports, an additional reason to expect an offensive in this area was just the appearance of heavy IS-2s in the battle. Nevertheless, Konev's headquarters continued to believe that there was a chance of success of the upcoming offensive. In mass sources about the May battles in the area of Târgu Frumos, usually quoted data given by General Manteuffel in his lecture to American officers at the General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Since the general commanded the Grossdeutschland Division, it was about 160 tanks, 24 infantry companies with a total bayonet combat strength of 2,400 men, 12 artillery batteries, 40 assault guns, and an air defense unit whose guns could be used against tanks. These figures have been repeated many times, but few researchers have noticed that in fact Manteuffel simply stated the figures for his division, according to the staff schedule. The reality was somewhat different. In particular, the Panther Battalion GD at that time was in France, and on the Eastern Front arrived only in July 1944. Instead, the division received a Panther Battalion of the 26th Tank Regiment. Note, the 26th itself was fighting in Italy at this point. However, Manteuffel also forgot to list the attached units, a battalion of Ps-4 and a company of Tigers of the Tank Division Totenkopf, a battery of Stughi assault guns of the 325th Assault Gun Brigade, and 1 or more batteries of the 228th Assault Gun Brigade. Together, this gave by early May about 40 Panthers, 30 Tigers, 84s, and 50 Stugs. However, these figures are by no means final because they do not reflect the real number of combat-ready tanks on May 2nd. For example, the above-mentioned battalion Panther 1B1P 26 seemed to have 19 combat-ready Panthers on May 1st. But at the end of April, a replenishment was sent for it, 24 Panthers, which arrived just on May 1st too. In general, the role of Romanian units during these battles is quite ambiguous. There is German evidence that the Romanians made a separate peace and generally retreated, denuding the flank of the GD. On German maps, a certain Romanian brigade takes a position to the left of GD. On the other hand, the commander of the German 57th Panzer Corps, Friedrich Kirchner, praised the Romanian division in a telephone conversation with Antonescu on the night of May 2nd to 3. There is a theory that because of disagreements between the German and Romanian commanders, each of the SOFAR allies had their own plans and acted on them. Antonescu and the Romanian General Staff wanted the main line of defense to be located on the high ground south of Târgu Frumos, where they created a strong defensive position. However, it was not possible to control the communications passing through Târgu Frumos from this position. Therefore, the German plan was to move forward to protect the important road junction. Finally, it is worth adding a few words about aviation. In total, on May 1st, the 5th Air Army's fleet of combat aircraft amounted to 1,105 machines, of which 890 were serviceable. Of these, 253 were fighters of different types: Yak-1, Yak-7, Yak-9, Lay-5, Aerocobra, 365 IL-2 attack aircraft, 16 PE-2 Scouts. The rest were bombers, 112 PE-2s, 94 A-20Js, and 50 U-2s. To understand further, it is important to note that the aviation has not yet had time to fully relocate following the ground troops. Therefore, the airfields where fighters were based were at a distance of 50-60 kilometers from the front line, and they could stay above the battlefield for up to 20 minutes. This seriously affected the course of the battle. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Forget to put a like and subscribe to the channel. It's important to me. See you soon.